So yesterday, I asked all of you on Twitter to give me some recommendations. Give me something to read in terms of webtoon, Korean manga, etc. I wanted something new. I wanted something interesting. I wanted to see what was out there. Since technically I've been actively getting into webtoons and Korean manga recently, there's a lot of interesting things I've never seen before. There's a very unique take on stories, and so I kind of wanted to see what you guys recommended. And after going through the entire list of what everybody commented, I came to the conclusion there was a few series that I definitely wanted to look into, and the few that came to mind was definitely God of High School, Lookism, and also Girls of the Wild. Now, there's a few other series I'm looking at, like, for instance, Hardcore Leveling Warrior, there's Dice, there's quite a few series. I'm looking at, Nerd Boyfriend. There's interesting stories that I saw recommended by everyone on Twitter yesterday, and just because I didn't mention it in my post, like, for instance, God of High School, Lookism, and, Girls of the Wild, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to read the other ones. I'm definitely going to check them out, because there is just so many series, so many things I'm now getting introduced to that it's insane. But today's video, though, I want to talk about God of High School, because I just read the first 3 to 4 chapters of the webtoon, and it's definitely something that piques my interest. Now, at this time, all I basically got is the premise of the story, at least from what I can understand. The first 3 chapters introduces the main characters, kind of what to expect from the story, and going forward, where it could potentially go. And so, this is kind of my first impressions on how I feel about the God of High School. And I want to be honest, I have a little bit of a history with the God of High School. I actually do. And the history I have is that it's something that I've always had on my to-read list. And the reason how I am aware of the God of High School is because of Tower of God. I've read Tower of God for a very long time. I'm not up to date currently. I still need to catch up. But I have always seen Tower of God mentioned. Or, Tower God. I mean, the God of High School. My bad. I'm derping there. But I've always seen the God of High School mentioned and recommended. So because of that, it's always been something I'm interested in. So I finally decided, you know what, let's stop pushing it aside. Let me look at it. Let me see what it's about. Let me see if I'm going to like it. Because one day, the God of High School might get an anime adaptation, especially since webtoons and Korean manga are becoming more popular, and there is now anime in the works for certain individual series, like, for instance, Tower of God. Then, most likely, the God of High School, since it's so popular, will probably get an anime one day. So, I want to check it out before that actually does happen one day. So, I read the first 3 chapters, and from what I can gather is that there is a competition that is called God of High School. Now, it's a very on-the-nose name because, the name of the title's the God of High School, and I'm assuming the main objective is to become the God of High School, or just a god in general, because when you see the first chapter's depiction, you have this dude that appears to be kind of like a chairman, principal, etc., and the way he flexes his power against someone that disagrees with him is pretty much like a godlike power. He literally destroys an entire island from sitting at a desk that's the island is way far off, hundreds of miles, most likely thousands of miles away, but he's somehow just putting his hand on a desk. He crushed the entire island with just some form of time, space and time traveling magic or something, which is kind of crazy. So, I'm assuming if you become the God of High School, you become something like the character that was shown in the first chapter. That's my assumption. Now, I could be wrong there, because obviously I'm not up to date, I don't know much about the story, but that's what I'm assuming. Now, in terms of how to get that type of power, it is a competition, and it is just a typical tournament/competition. Now, this seems like very bare bones, basic, and nothing relatively interesting, but I highly doubt it's something as basic as just a regular fist-fighting competition. The reason why I say that is because the God of High School, from what I know of, is still ongoing. It's very long. It's a very long read. I think it has over 400 chapters at this current time. That's long. That's really long. And for it to be going on for that long and still be around to this day and that popular, it must have something good for it going for for it. It must have a really good story. It must have been mixing up what's going on within the competition. So I do believe that there is definitely a lot to be seen, and definitely a lot that can be enjoyable for the story. So even if the premise does seem bare bones or very basic, especially with the concept of a competition, there's probably more to it. Because, I mean, when you think about Tower of God, it's also something very basic. Tower of God's about literally climbing a tower to become a god. So, yeah, it sounds very basic as well, but once again, it comes down to the execution and how it's presented to the readers, if it's good or not. And, like I said, for the God of High School to be around this long, it has to have something good going for it to be relevant. So, okay. Besides the introduction to potentially who is the god, let's talk about the characters. So with the first chapter, we're introduced to who I assume is the MC, since it's the first chapter. The MC character seems to be someone that is the typical Goku-like character that wants to be the best, thinks he's the best, etc. Kind of a mixture of Vegeta and Goku, actually. Someone that just wants to be the best fighter, and if he finds out he's not the best fighter, he will continue to train and grow stronger to be the best. So, if you're into themes kind of like wanting to get stronger, better, etc., kind of like Dragon Ball, you might be a fan of the MC character because of the way he's introduced. However, there is something I really do like about him that was shown. Even though it seems like he's very prideful / arrogant from his introduction, that's really not the case. He's actually someone that is very humble. When he does get defeated, his first loss he's ever had after like 200 plus wins, he actually accepts the loss, and he's like, okay, I'll participate in the God of High School. I need to get better and figure out how he defeated me. So it opened up a new realm, a new door for him to better himself and get stronger, and he wasn't like an arrogant jerk. So I do appreciate that aspect of the MC. He wasn't someone that was a typical angry lad because he lost for the first time. He actually accepted it and now is willing to get stronger. He got thrown off his pedestal, and he took it with grace. So, that's good stuff. Now, like I said, it's very basic and simple with the first chapter. The second chapter adds a new layer to the story alongside of the third chapter. The second chapter introduces another, I'm assuming, main character that is in a little bit of a crisis. He's someone that has a friend / family member that is not doing too well, is in the hospital, sick, dying, etc., and the individual is really, he's scraping on by with barely any money, and using any money he gets, working multiple jobs, etc., to be able to pay for the medical bills for the individual that is in the hospital. So obviously you have the typical tragic story of someone really working hard to try to help out their individual, and finally they get a calling or / chance to be able to help out their family member to better themselves and, their entire family, etc. And so it's kind of very similar to Solo Leveling. If you, watch my videos on Solo Leveling and you read Solo Leveling, then you know kind of what the main objective was of Solo Leveling. So, anyways, one of the things, though, about the second chapter is that he is given an opportunity. He is confronted by another individual that is offering him to participate in the God of High School competition. And he accepts it only if he's given a lot of money. And at first it seems like he's very greedy, but that's not necessarily the case. As you know, he's just someone that needs money for his family member / loved one that is in a state of need. So he's basically trying to do something very honorable and noble, and so he wants to become the God of High School to be able to get what he wants and help out the one he loves. So it basically establishes no matter who you are, for instance, if you win this competition, you can get anything you want. Basically, you do become probably a god, and you're able to actually get anything you want, what your heart desires. So if you want to, let's say, be omnipotent, omnipresent, etc., you probably could. Now, I don't know if that's possible, but I'm assuming it is just because of the presentation of the second chapter. Third chapter comes around, and it adds kind of a continuation to the layer of the second chapter. We're introduced to a female character that is someone that is very strong, very powerful, and she's basically wanting to find a way to continue on her family's legacy. The fighting style of her family. It's also a very honorable goal. She basically wants to find a husband. That's kind of what it comes down to. She wants to find a husband. She wants to find individuals that she can pass on her family legacy to, or her family lines, fighting style just doesn't die in a fire or something. So it, once again, is another objective. It's very different from the first objective, in the second objective. I personally think the second objective is more honorable, but the third objective is also a really good objective too, because you want to honor your family and just uphold the tradition that you've held for such a long time. So what this kind of means is that there is all forms of different individuals coming to this competition, God of High School, to get what they want. So obviously, this is going to breed conflict and also evil individuals as well to seek after the crown of the God of High School. Because if you can technically obtain anything you want, that means that you potentially could become the conqueror of the world, the main head honcho of the world or a country, etc. So, yeah, there's definitely some danger here. There's probably is some, layers to it. Maybe it's not as easy for evil people to get in power. Maybe that's how the world works. Who really knows? But the point is that there is definitely going to be a variety of people with their own objectives, their own goals of what they want to achieve that participate in this competition. Everybody has a reason, and basically some might have a reason they just want to be strong, some might have a reason they want to do it for family, some might have a reason they want to do it for money, some might have a reason they want to do it for, let's say, they just want to be evil. You know, you don't really know. There's just all sorts of people that can be introduced within the story. So in terms of the presentation of the God of High School, the first 3 chapters are very good. They definitely laid the groundwork for what I should expect. Now, in terms of what I would normally expect from a webtoon / series like this, I would expect a power fantasy. But that doesn't seem like this is going to be that type of series. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a full-on power fantasy. It seems like if you're more into the traditional shonen stories, this is probably going to be for you. This definitely seems like a traditional shonen story, seeing characters, you know, work towards a common goal or work together to achieve and become strong, etc. I feel like that's this type of story. So I am interested. I can't wait to read more, and I can't wait to see kind of where the story develops, because it's going to be quite the long read. But, I mean, look, I read over 100 chapters of Unordinary in like a day. I could definitely do God of High School pretty easily, too, if I really get that itch and really get into it. So, yeah. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.